The Man with the Yin-Yang Eyes. Episode 7. My name is Lucius Gregory. The name sounds familiar, right? If you know me, you probably already know the strange stories revolving around my life. In a modern city where people put their trust in science like today, the stories I tell are quite fictional, but it's true. Today I tell you another spiritual tale. Last Sunday, I had the day off. On the occasion of my free time, I go to the park to relax and look at the sky for a bit. I was sitting on a stone bench outside in the park for quite some time. "Uncle, are you going alone? Doesn't anyone play with you?" I was sitting and drinking a glass of water I bought when I first entered the park. Suddenly there was another girl, about 5 or 6 years old. She slowly inched closer to me and curiously asked about me. "I see you were sitting here for a long time. You don't have to work today?" I'm a rather closed person. I wouldn't say I like to socialize with strangers. So when she asked, I was pretty confused. Seeing that I didn't answer, she not only didn't give up, but continued to ask the second question. "Why are you staring at that rope over there?" Well, I have to admit that this girl was very patient with me. Seeing that I did not answer, she continued to ask the third question. Hearing her question, I noticed that there was a rope in front of me. Actually, I'm just looked into the void without the purpose of staring at the rope, but I hesitated whether I should explain to her or not. "Hey baby, are you bothering him? Come back here and go home with your mom." Fortunately, just as I was confused, her mother appeared and called her home. "You look so cool with those dark glasses. Even though you didn't answer my questions, I'm not angry. See you soon." The girl seems to be very cheerful. As soon as she heard her mother's call, the little girl got up and walked over to her mother. Before leaving, she turned back and said one more sentence to me. Unexpectedly, it's the first time I heard someone say that I wear cool glasses. I looked in the direction of the girl and her mother for a while, and after they were gone, I turned my eyes back to the rope that the little girl talked about earlier. It was a short piece of rope. I don't know who threw it there. I looked at it for a while, then suddenly I saw that the rope seemed to be moving. At first I thought I was dizzy. Maybe it was the effect of the wind. But when I slowly think about it, I don't think it's windy today. Near the rope, a young man was playing with his dog. I could clearly see the rope moving towards the young man. Just then, the young man's dog howled several times fiercely. The dog must have detected something amiss. When the young man heard his dog howling like that, he also felt strange and turned to look around to see if anything was wrong. The rope on the ground was now approaching the young man's side. Then, the rope suddenly wrapped a loop around his neck and began to tighten. The young man's dog now barked more and more fiercely. It kept barking. And the other rope was strangling the young man's throat tighter and tighter. By this time, I had noticed something was wrong, and the young man was in danger. I quickly stood up from the bench and took off my dark glasses. Then I rushed towards the young man and the dog. I still haven't seen that thing. Although I still couldn't clearly see what was controlling the rope, I reached into my pocket and pulled out a handful of red beans. I suspect the thing controlling the rope is a ghost, and luckily, the red beans used for exorcism. Mr. Simmons told me to carry it with me at all times. As I got closer, I could clearly see that it was a ghost pulling the rope, trying to strangle the young man. I didn't think much but hurriedly threw the red beans in my hand towards the ghost. If I slow down, the young man is in danger. I saw the places where red beans hit the ghost on its body were smoking, giving off white smoke. The ghost then began to loosen his grip a little. The young man was no longer dangerous. It seems that the ghost was made injured by red beans. It turned its head back and glared at me with red eyes, its tongue hanging out of its mouth. I observed and saw on the ghost's neck a dark purple mark. Perhaps it died by hanging. The ghost took the rope from the young man's neck. Then it turned towards me, with a rope in its hand as if it was about to strangle me. I reached into my pocket and pulled out another handful of red beans. The ghost looked scared. It did not dare to approach me anymore, but only dared to stare at me with fierce eyes. After that, the ghost slowly disappeared in front of me. "Are you okay? Oh man? Why is that rope strangling me all of a sudden?" Perhaps the other ghost was scared by the red bean in my hand. I did not rush to think about it, but ran to see the situation of that young man first. He seemed shocked by what had just happened. I kept quiet and said nothing. I can't explain that there was a ghost who just strangled him with that rope, either that it was absurd, or that it could have confused him more. He rubbed his neck in confusion for a moment. After that, the young man hurriedly greeted me and led the dog away from the place. After the young man left, I quickly took out my phone and called Mr. Simmons and tell him what just happened. "Did the red bean self-defense method I taught you work?" After hearing the story briefly, Mr. Simmons asked me to go over to his house to talk more clearly. Hearing that, I took a taxi and went to Mr. Simmons. "That works, Mr. Simmons. The evil ghost seems to be afraid of red beans." Mr. Simmons laughed and said, "Red beans are the best defense against those evil spirits. But if there is a stronger ghost, you must use red beans soaked in enchanting water to be effective. This I will consider and teach you later." Mr. Simmons asked and told me about the joke just now. "You were destined to have to deal with this sort of thing. When it comes, it will come. There is no need to try to avoid it. When the water comes, the earth will stop it, no worries." Mr. Simmons saw that I was still a bit worried, so he reassured me, saying that this was my destiny. "So can you guess or know anything about the origin of the other ghost?" "Wait a minute. Maybe that ghost wants to find someone to die with." I turned to ask Mr. Simmons about the ghost earlier. When he heard that, he took out his phone and looked like he was looking up something. "Here, look here." After a moment of clicking and surfing, Mr. Simmons held the phone in front of me and told me to look closely at what was on the phone. I looked at the phone and panicked a little when I saw what was displayed on the phone screen. On the phone screen now was the news of the murders by hanging. All of them looked very panicked, probably seeing something horrifying before they died. But strangely, the police did not find any clues to prove that they were murdered. In the end, it can only be concluded that the others died by suicide. But among these dead people who do not see the ghost, do they have anything to do with it? They were all killed by the ghost. Mr. Simmons said shocking info to me. He said there was no reason at all. It was simply that the ghost caught the person who was compatible with it. It killed it. It was an extremely evil spirit. So what should I do? What if it comes back? You ruined its work, so it will definitely come back to you to kill you. I will teach you how to get rid of it. Evil spirits are scary. Fortunately, next to me is Mr. Simmons. Remember what I taught you. Everything has to be done very carefully. If you feel danger, finding a way to call me right away. I sit at Mr. Simmons till dark. After carefully remembering what he taught, I greeted Mr. Simmons and left. Mr. Simmons sent me to the door. I remember. I will be careful. Thank you and goodbye. I carefully stored what Mr. Simmons gave me, and promised him I'd be careful. Then I strode out of Mr. Simmons' sight. I could have taken a taxi and went home safely, but I chose to walk, because I had a hunch that the ghost would appear. I have to fight and eliminate it as quickly as possible. I walked through a few crossroads and then suddenly turned into an empty alley. I think that the ghost will ambush me somewhere. After turning into the alley, my feet started to slow down on their own. I walk more slowly and pay close attention to any movements around me, watching and listening to everything very carefully. Sure enough, when I was walking for a while, I felt a rustle in the air. I glanced to the side and saw the ropes slowly moving. But this time, there is no wind. I'd have expected that is the ghost doing. I haven't taken off my glasses yet. Through my lenses, I can still see the ropes approaching me, getting closer and closer. They look like snakes wriggling towards their target. The ropes were scattered everywhere in the empty alley, on the walls, on the ground, in the trash cans. All appeared. They approached me from all directions. At this point, I reached into my pocket and pulled out what Mr. Simmons gave. Sure enough, a few seconds later, my neck and feet were wrapped around by ropes. I took out what Mr. Simmons gave me, a string of coins tied into a red string. Mr. Simmons said this could help me knock those ropes off. The ropes wrapped around me more and more, and they got tighter and tighter. I took the coin chain and raised it to hit the ropes wrapped around me. The chain of coins and the rope touched each other and made a shrill sound, like the sound of an old weapon. Whichever thread I hit, it let go of my body and fell, just like someone who wants to attack and gets beaten up. I kept hitting the string of coins on the surrounding ropes. After being hit, the ropes fainted and fell to the ground, but they also gave off strange black smoke. The black smoke slowly condensed into something in front of me. I still haven't taken off my glasses yet, so I can't see what it is. But I can guess that more than 80% of what's in front of me is that ghost. When the thought that the ghost that was hanged to death appeared in my mind, I quickly put my hand to my face to remove the other black glasses and see clearly, look to confirm the remaining 20%. What is in front of me right now is the evil spirit I have been waiting for all evening. And of course, right in front of my eyes right now is precisely the ghost. When I saw the ghost in the morning, I still couldn't see it closely. Now, when I had the opportunity to see it clearly, my heart jumped. It looked extremely scary. The ghost's eyes bulged out, full of white and bloodshot. The hideous red fig tongue always sticks out. Even more remarkable is the indented, purple-black mark on its neck, which looks extremely monstrous. Overall, this ghost can be ranked first among the scary ghosts that I have ever met. The ghost looked at me with wide, angry eyes. Then it looked up to the sky and let out a loud scream. Hearing that scream as if it was ordering something, my mind was still awake to guess that the ghost wanted to call the ropes to attack me again. Sure enough, just as I expected, after the ghost's roar, the ropes in the empty alley attacked me again. This time I listened and felt that the ropes seemed to be much stronger than before. I didn't dare to ignore that rope for a moment. If I'm careless, they'll quickly strangle me to death, because that's what the evil spirit wants. I tried to stay as calm as I could, clutching the coin chain tightly and slamming the ropes that were trying to attack me. I quickly knocked down the rope of the ghost. When he saw his ropes all over the place, he seemed to be extremely angry. At this point, I am also tired, but I still maintain my composure and stare at the ghost's every move. The ghost also looked at me indignantly. The ghost also stared at me with two bloodshot eyes. I couldn't guess what it would do next. I could only improvise. A man and a ghost maintained that position for a long time, when suddenly I heard a shovel click in my ear, and I felt that my hand was getting lighter. That's not good. Maybe it's because I used all my strength to fight with those ropes earlier, so the coin chain after winning was no longer standing and broke. The coins began to clatter to the ground. The look on my face right now was quite scared and bewildered. I raised my hand and looked at the small rope in my hand. The other coins have all fallen out, leaving only one red string. In the corner of my eye, I saw the ghost, dead by hanging, turning into a cloud of black smoke and merging with the red rope in my hand. After the ghost entered the rope, it began to control the red string that wound several times around my neck. I'm still freaking out and scared. After that, I felt the red rope getting tighter and tighter, and then I felt the ghost behind me, controlling the red rope that wanted to kill me. At this point, I took off my scared face and started to laugh, and I laughed because the ghost had clearly fallen into my trap. I slightly glanced towards the ghost. At this moment, an electric flash rang in my ears, and from the red wire emitted electric rays, slowly spreading throughout the ghost that was trying to strangle me. The sparks were like a net, covering and capturing the entire body of the evil spirit behind me. At this time, the red wire wrapped around my neck and face also disappeared. The electrochemical rays from the red wire made the ghost scream in pain. I turned to look at it, and the ghost was slowly fading away, slowly fading out of my sight. Finally, the ghost turned into a cloud of black smoke, dispersed everywhere, and then disappeared into thin air. Mr. Simmons once told me about this case. This must be a state of disarray, according to Mr. Simmons. The ghost has been destroyed. After finishing everything, I bent down and picked up the coins that had been scattered on the ground. After picking it up, I got up and left the empty alley. The whole alley returned to its original quiet state. I put my dark glasses back on my eyes and walked towards my house. In my heart, I have an incredibly indescribable feeling when going through the incident just now. I feel incredibly proud that I have defeated the ghost, and I also feel my admiration for Mr. Simmons has gone up a notch. As I walked, I remembered the time at Mr. Simmons's place. You ruined the work of the ghost. If you don't destroy it, it will kill you. This is a special coin chain that I have enchanted. Take it and fight that evil spirit. I am sure you will do it. Mr. Simmons personally handed me the chain of coins and taught me how to get rid of this scary ghost. You can use this string to blow away the ropes that the ghost controls at first, and the coins on the rope will fall off after a few hits. Then you should be scared to trick the ghost. The ghost will enter this enchanted string, and then it will destroy itself. Mr. Simmons taught me in detail the process of destroying the ghost using the coin chain he gave me. Although I was pretty scared and worried, fortunately, the ghost was finally destroyed. I feel like I have superpowers, and that makes me feel very excited. On another free day, I sat on a park bench again, and this time I met another little girl playing with pinwheels. "Your hairpin is so pretty today." I tried to be more open, and I spoke to her. But this girl doesn't seem like the girl from before. "What's the matter, Annie? Maybe it's not as easy as I thought." The girl was quite wary. After the girl's mother arrived, she asked the girl why she had such a strange expression on her face. "There's an uncle over there that looks weird." I could faintly hear the words of a mother and daughter conversation. Maybe I shouldn't be so extroverted either. I thought this girl would be like that girl from before, but unfortunately, it wasn't. Maybe I should still be like before. I will continue to hide everything under my sunglasses.